Joe Biden's political persecution of his opponent really isn't helping him out too much in the polls these days. Thanks to the great work over at Rasmussen Reports, we have some very, very interesting polls we wanted to go over with you folks. First one up is 48% of likely US voters would choose Trump, while only 43% would vote for Joe Biden. Now, it doesn't end there, folks. 45% would vote for Trump, and 40% would vote for Biden, and 8% would vote for Kennedy when you add Kennedy to that poll. So, again, that third party, that third candidate, I guess I should say, really not hurting President Trump as much as it's hurting Joe Biden. Joining me to break down all these polls is none other than Mark Mitchell. He is the head pollster over at Rasmussen Reports. Mark, thank you for joining us. Listen, this is interesting. I like the fact that adding Kennedy to this really doesn't hurt President Trump because it doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. It does more damage, it looks like, to Joe Biden. You're the man behind these polls, though. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, I don't think really Kennedy hurt Trump at all, except for maybe like over a year ago. I think the trend for Kennedy is down a few points, if anything, from the winner. He's not going in the right direction. And I think the headline here is that Trump is winning by 5 points. And what's really important is 1/3 of these numbers are actually after the guilty verdict, and all of them are after really the case was closed. And I think the real, this trial was in the news, like in a very major way, all of that week. And we saw the polls respond. We saw Democrat approval of Joe Biden go up that entire time. So I think a lot of people are probably out there, making headlines saying, this is it. Like Trump's done. He got a guilty verdict. Well, we still have him up by 5 points, was, quite a big amount. Now, we did last time we ran these numbers a little over a week ago, have Trump up 10. But I think the thing to note is that these numbers do swing back and forth. And there's really like a short term and a long term effect to public opinion. And this guilty verdict was such a major political hit that the long term impacts are going to take a long time to see. But the short term, it actually has given Trump a little bit of a speed bump, it looks like. The big one is, though, that 2 weeks ago in the middle of May, Democrats were really down. Joe Biden approval was like under 70%, which is low for him. And Democrat right direction, wrong track numbers were, I think, tied 46-46. But now, because of the guilty verdict, Democrat right direction got up to like 54 at its highest, and wrong direction down to 40. And Joe Biden approval among Democrats got up to 77, which is really high for him. So now this is definitely impacted Trump some, but if you look at the demographics, which I'm happy to get into, I have all the numbers here. It's probably going to be short term, especially where you see where most of the lack of support came from.
Yeah, let's talk about those demographics. I think that's interesting. I'll let you detail that for our audience.
So these numbers are coming from a May 23rd matchup where we had Trump up over Biden 49-39. And then these May 28th to 30th numbers where we had Trump up in the two-way 48-43. So he lost 5 points there over the span of 10 days. When you look at gender, men are absolutely the same. In fact, their support of Trump went from 50 to 52%, and it was a wash from a margin perspective. But women pretty majorly abandoned Trump because of this. They went from 48, down to 44, and Biden went from 39 up to 45. So, it's hard to know for sure, but I think there's a very big aspect of, suburbia is a hell of a drug. But where he lost most support, believe it or not, is among Democrats. So Democrats, he has 17 points less support than he did just 10 days ago. 10 days ago, 71% of Democrats say they'd vote Biden. Now it's 82%. But back then, 19% say they'd vote Trump. Now it's down to 14%. Now he lost like 4 points of Republican support. He's going to gain that all back. Right now, he's getting 84% of the Republican vote. It's going to be like 90, low 90s. And he actually, because of this indictment, did pick up independent support. He's winning 49-34, which is pretty much, I think, the biggest lead he's ever had among independents this cycle. So again, there's a lot of up and downs. The headline is Trump is, according to our numbers, still absolutely blowing away Biden after the guilty verdict. And I think there's a lot of reasons to believe our numbers are most accurate. And I think, Trump, like the big long term impacts are there. This made a lot of people angry. They're probably going to maybe stop watching their mainstream news media source. Trump raised a lot of money. That money is going to buy
Mhm.
ads that are going to change people's minds. And really, I think, people know Trump. He's been on the world stage a long time. If you're a Democrat and you decided somewhere along the way now to support Trump, and this guilty verdict is what did it, I don't know. The Democrats haven't really bailed themselves out of the situation that they've gotten themselves in. So I think it's easy to think that those people somewhere between now and November are going to come back.
Yeah, yeah, and like you mentioned, the fundraising has been incredible, honestly. We continue to see the numbers coming out, and they're well over 200 million, it looks like. So I'm interested to see what the final numbers in that are. But you also brought up Democrats, and I wanted to bring up a poll that you guys just recently put out today. In it, it says 63% of Democrats want Trump sentenced to prison. Now, I don't know if they understand the ramifications for that, because that will ignite both the moderates, I believe, and those who are maybe independent, looking still for what candidate they fall with, because I think most Americans don't want to see a presidential candidate go to prison. It doesn't look good. What do you make of this data that you guys just recently put out this morning?
Well, lots of ways to figure out the impact of this guilty verdict, and one of them is just to ask voters directly. And you're right. Most people do not want to see a former president go to prison. It was 52% no to 36% yes. So really, only about one third, a little over one third of the country wants to see that. But the
Mhm.
problem is that you and I both know there's this sort of primal anger that undergirds a lot of Biden supporters that even went so far as half of Biden's strong supporters wanted to do things like take the unvaccinated children away from them at the height of COVID. So I think, these people, there's this aspect of resolution. They've been told for 6 to 7 years to want Trump in jail for like whatever the reason. There have been many, and it looks like they may finally get it. So it's easy to believe why they might be on cloud nine. But 63% of Democrats say yes, but 24% say no, they don't want to see Trump in prison. So 1 in 4 Democrats against that. Republicans are against it, 84-8. So, that 8% is about, where Nikki Haley pulled the last time, right? Yeah, independents, 48% no to 34% yes. So these independents have been polling more and more conservative. They hate the weaponization of the legal system and are strongly against any prison sentence. But if you go all the way out in the crosstabs to Biden approval, the people obviously who want Trump most jailed are Biden's strong approvers. It's 72% yes for them. Biden's strong disapprovers, it's no, 91-3. So that's, as always, the Biden approval is where you find the biggest split on any of these politically charged questions.
Yeah, no question there on that. It's interesting to see. I don't think Democrats really understand what they're doing here. They are literally doing probably the best campaigning for President Trump that President Trump could even do for himself. And so we'll see how this all plays out. Mark Mitchell, thank you again for jumping on with us and breaking all these numbers down. We greatly appreciate it.